Today's story is a classic case of too many cooks spoil the broth. A 10-man rap group, the Outlawz' main claim to fame was the fact that they were formed by the late great Tupac Shakur. Unfortunately, despite over 20 years in the industry, spanning 4 decades from the 90s to the 20s, the group is still mostly remembered for its affiliation to Pac. Lately, the Outlawz are nowhere to be found. So the question is, what happened to Tupac's group?
There's a rumor that after Tupac died, the Outlaw smoked his ashes. Is that true?
Yeah, it's definitely true.
What up guys, Ali here and welcome to Ali Talks Music. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music as well. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video. Though the group was only formed around the mid-90s, and Tupac himself only really started popping around the same time, the Outlawz' origin goes back much further. Malcolm Greenridge, who would later adopt the moniker Idi Amin, and Katari Cox, who eventually went by the name Castro, grew up together in the streets of New York. Castro was actually Tupac's cousin, but that would not come into play until much later.
Me and Tupac, we cousins, so we kind of came up from the womb. Whoever came first, the next one follow, and I follow. And I'm happy to follow in them footsteps. It's a beautiful thing.
Incidentally, both Amin and Castro were relocated to New Jersey with their families, and this is where they met another one of Pac's family members, Yaki Gaddafi.
First met Tupac probably when I was born, because that's how long I've been knowing him, and that answers that question.
In its earliest version, the Outlawz formed around 1992, after Cox, Greenridge, and Yaki Gaddafi formed a rap trio that went by several names including Thoroughheads and Young Thugs. While the boys were forming their career, Pac was making a name for himself. And despite that, he never forgot about his childhood friends, and around 1993, he featured Malcolm and K-Dog on the B-side of his Holla If You Hear Me single on a piece called Flex.
So here it comes, let's have a gun to get done by the ones that rock drums for fun, pump pump.
Recruitment for the Outlawz continued around 1994 when Gaddafi's mother, Yasmin Fula, told Pac about a 16-year-old boy who had witnessed his parents' murder at the heartbreaking age of 3. The boy was named Mutabil, and his story brought tears to Pac's eyes. After this, Pac wanted to meet Beale, and soon he became the group's newest recruit. The public would eventually get to know him as Napoleon.
Pac was like a father figure to me, you know what I mean? You know, I was going through some shit in Jersey, picked me up from Jersey, laced me with the game, brought me out here, then, you know what I mean? Hooked up ever since then.
With the original recruits lined up, the group's formation seemed about to fall into place. That is, until Pac got shot. The day was November 30th, 1994, where Pac was shot 4 times and robbed at a studio in New York. In a whiplash turn of events, he was arrested the very next day for sexual assault and was found guilty around 1995. He was sent to prison to serve up to 4.5 years. Meanwhile, his core lineup, Castro, Idi Amin, Yaki Gaddafi, and Napoleon, were still soldiering on without Pac. At the time, they called themselves Dramacidal and were still going with their original monikers.
When you guys were first Dramacidal,
Right.
and then
Back, yeah.
just taking all the way back.
Yes.
How did that crew come together and your connection with Tupac? How did that happen?
Man, we was just all childhood friends, man, and we kind of all knew each other from different points in different areas around New York City and New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we just, you know, had a dream about changing our lives and making some good music.
The full group appeared for the first time on 2 songs from Tupac's 3rd album, Me Against the World, which was released early on in his incarceration. Dramacidal appeared on both the titular track and the song Outlaw. They also appeared once more without Young Hollywood on the single So Many Tears, which featured their song Hard to Imagine. Not before long, their work on the singles plus their mixtapes captured the attention of Interscope Records, and Dramacidal would have signed a deal to a major label if not for another surprise from their mentor, Tupac. Around 1995, after serving just 8 months in prison, Death Row Records, Interscope Records, and Time Warner paid about $1.4 million bail to release Tupac. Suge negotiated the deal, and the only thing Pac had to do was sign a 3-album deal with Death Row Records. And so, Dramacido was packed up and flown to Los Angeles with Tupac, where they all began working on his double album, All Eyes on Me.
All eyes on me, live the life of a thug nigga until the day I die. Live the life of a boss player.
While incarcerated, Tupac had decided the time was finally ripe to form his own supergroup. He spoke to Young Hollywood aka Yaki Gaddafi, and he had agreed to start searching for new members. Naturally, the entirety of Dramacido would form the core lineup of the group, but Pac wanted more members. The first recruit was Yaki's friend, Bruce Washington, who eventually visited Pac in jail, where he immediately had to drop bars for the legend. And so, Washington was added. The next recruits were Pac's brother, Mopreme Shakur, and Tyrus Big Sky Himes from Thug Life, whom Pac had already worked with in the past, and so the 8-man lineup was complete. The prerequisite for the group was that they all had to adopt monikers of international enemies of America. Here's where our boys finally earned their new names. Big Malcolm became Idi Amin after the Ugandan president. Big Sky became Mussolini after the Italian president. K-Dog was Castro after the Cuban president. Mopreme became Khomeini after the supreme leader of Iran. Mutar became Napoleon after the short French emperor. Washington became Fatal Hassan, while Young Hollywood became Yaki Gaddafi after the Libyan colonel, while Pac became Machiavelli the Don after the Italian philosopher.
The Italians I speak about were really truly great men. And I find any great man, black or white, I'm gonna study him, learn it so he can't be great to me no more. Like Machiavelli. And that's why I don't say my name's not Machiavelli, my name is Machiavelli. I took it. That's mine. He gave me that. You know what I mean? I took that. Just like, and I don't feel no guilt. That motherfucker, all these stole from us forever. I'm taking back what's mine. It's just that they recorded it when he said it. It's probably something he took from us that they didn't let us record.
After a while, it became time to choose a new name. Initially, Pac's idea was to name the group Little Homies, but because Fatal was almost the same age as Pac, he didn't want to be known as the Little Homie, and so he offered up the name Outlaw Immortals. And with the group finally formed, there was nothing left to do but get into the studio and record. The group and its various members appeared on All Eyes on Me, sometimes as individuals, sometimes only as Dramacido, sometimes as a collection of individuals, and sometimes as Outlaw Immortals. As an entire group, they only appeared on one track called When They Ride. But throughout the album, members were featured on All About You, Trading War Stories, Thug Passion, Picture Me Rolling, Checkout Time, All Eyes on Me, and Run the Streets.
Picture me rolling in my 500 Benz. I got no love for these niggas, there's no need to be friends.
Meanwhile, Pac had recruited his first female rapper who went by the name Storm. She appeared on 3 of his songs on All Eyes on Me. Allegedly, Storm is the one who changed the group's name to the Outlaws, an acronym for Operating Under Thug Laws as Warriors.
I met Pac through, he was actually at a video shoot, and he walked by and he said hello to me and I said hi to him, and he was like, we just started talking. We just started talking about everything except for music. We were just talking on a common thing. And about 30 minutes to 40 minutes into the conversation, a friend of mine goes by and goes, Pac, do you know Storm's a rapper? And he was like, a rapper? You're a rapper? Let me hear you rap. And I was like, oh, okay. So I rapped for him, and right then and there he was like, you part of us now, you know what I'm saying? Right then and there he gave it up, so, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy to be involved with everything. My brothers, the Outlaws, you know what I'm saying? And I feel very fortunate.
Around June 14th, the Outlaws appeared on one of their most iconic songs to date, Tupac's Hit 'Em Up.
Grab your blocks when you see Tupac.
The song took aim at Biggie, but it also took shots at Mobb Deep, Bad Boy, Junior Mafia, and Chino XL. In the song, Pac claimed to have slept with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans, and the Outlaws made one of their first appearances in one of Pac's videos for it. 3 months after the diss, around September of 1996, Tupac was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas where he passed away. Now, at the time of the incident, Gaddafi and Idi Amin were in the car behind Tupac. Idi said he could not identify the murderer, while Gaddafi said that he might be able to. Unfortunately, the police never followed up on the lead, and soon after the Outlaws packed up and moved back to New Jersey. 2 months after Pac's death, an album by him called The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory was released. It featured the Outlaws on 4 songs, namely Bomb First, Hail Mary, Life of an Outlaw, and Just Like Daddy. Sadly, despite Hail Mary being the 3rd single and video from the album, Death Row Records did not credit the Outlaws and cut them from the video. 1996 was a very bad year for the Outlaws. 5 days after the album was dropped, Pac's most loyal supporter and right-hand man, Gaddafi, was shot and killed after visiting his girlfriend around November 10th. He was only 19 years old. By the end of 1996, the Outlaws had formed as a group of 8, lost 2 members who chose to go solo, lost 2 to death, and got another 2 members that nobody cared about. Their lineup was now 6. Around 1997, against Tupac's multiple pre-passing warnings, the Outlaws signed to Death Row Records. Since Pac was so against the signing, Fatal refused to cooperate and departed the group. The remaining 5 moved to Los Angeles in pursuit of their career. Unfortunately, without Pac and his loyal lieutenant, the Outlaws were like a snake with no head. They had lost their leader, and without Pac to guide the group, they found it very difficult to figure out their next step. Between 1997 and 1999, not much was heard of them. They appeared as guest features occasionally on other musicians' music, including Still Ballin' the remix, the first single and video of Yuck Mouth's album, Thugged Out, The Albulation. Eventually, the Outlaws found another group member called Gonzo, who left the group after 3 months of working with the Outlaws and not recording any music. Around this time period, the group was supposed to release an album called Never Surrender. It was supposed to come as a part of their deal with Death Row and rap a lot, however they got cold feet and backed out at the last minute. Around 1999, 3 years after forming and the death of their leader, the Outlaws finally released their debut album called Still I Rise. Of the 15 tracks, Pac was on 14 of them, and Fatal was removed from every track he had recorded. The leading and only single from the project was called Baby Don't Cry, Keep Your Head Up Part 2. Their album was quite successful. It sold 408,000 copies in the first week, and less than 3 months later it eventually went platinum.
Baby, don't cry. You got to keep your head up, even when the road is hard.
After the project, Storm left the group, having only recorded 1 verse for the album. She did do a few features here and there, but she eventually left the music industry for good. Frustrated with Interscope and Death Row, the Outlaws decided to try and pursue another major label deal. Unfortunately, every time they received an offer, things managed to go left. Their only option was now to start their own label, and they began one around the early 2000s called Outlaw Records.
Hot. So I'm looking at this, right? East Coast kids living out here since when? 96, you said?
Right, the 95.
And the 95, right? And we got this picture of y'all, you know, Tupac was the general of this whole joint, right?
Sure.
Why are y'all not on his mom's label? Why'd y'all do Outlawz Records?
I mean,
two labels is better than one.
Exactly.
We had to start our own label, basically.
Really?
You know,
Still family,
yeah,
bro.
it's family. I mean, we're still working together, though.
They later signed several artists to the label: Napoleon's Baby Brother, Hellraiser, Noble's Stepdaughter, Baby Girl, Dirty Bird, and Little D. They managed to land a distribution deal through Bayside Entertainment, and they were officially off to the races. In the meantime, around April 1st, 2000, they filed a lawsuit against Interscope, Suge Knight Films, Suge Publishing, and Death Row Records for $4.5 million. They cited unfair business practices, breach of contract, intentional interference with prospective economic advantages, racketeering, and others, and managed to win their case. In another cruel twist of fate, Napoleon revealed to the public that Gaddafi's murder had not been anonymous at all. He was murdered by a family member of one of the crew, one Rodney Beal, who happened to be the cousin of Muta Beal. My son was murdered by Roddy Beal, Muta's cousin. And make no mistake, it was murder. Muta's family threatened all witnesses and folks willing to come forward to testify that Roddy had threatened Yaki. Now back to our story. Around November of 2000, the Outlawz dropped their second album as a lineup of 4 members. It came out through their own label and was called Ride With Us or Collide With Us. 2 singles were released from the project, including Black Rain and Thug With Me. Around 2001, the group briefly went up to 5 members once more with the addition of New York rapper New Child, but he quickly departed, recording nothing with the group. In October of the same year, the Outlawz collaborated with Thug Life to drop the collaboration album Thug Law Chapter 1. A month later, after securing a new distribution deal with Koch Entertainment, they released their third album called Novocaine. Novocaine spawned their only charting single to date in the form of Worldwide. The album also contained a diss track towards Fatal called Loyalty. Unfortunately, after the Novocaine, their link to Tupac was becoming tenuous and losing its relevance. The constant bickering wasn't helping either, because skill-wise, the group was very average at best. Despite this, they kept releasing more albums, and the thing is, these albums always came out on different labels. 2002 saw the release of Never Surrender, this time distributed through Rap-A-Lot. After the release of this album, Napoleon converted to Islam and departed the Outlawz, becoming a public speaker and breaking the lineup down to just 3 members of the group. Meanwhile, Idi Amin, Castro and Young Noble put out their 4th album in 2005 called Outlaw for Life 2005 AP, which stood for After Pac. Around 2006, the group gained 1 more additional member, and he went by the name Stormy, who appeared for the first time in an album on their 2008 offering We Want In the Street LP. Now, for a while, the group went silent. They had been releasing a slew of mixtapes, collab albums, and digital albums. However, their buzz was slowly dying down. Around 2009, they went through a new metamorphosis. Castro left the group to pursue his own solo career, leaving Idi as the only member of the very first lineup. Stormy also left the group, appearing on only 1 album. Now, while the group continued to drop mixtapes, album number 6 came out 3 years later in the form of Perfect Timing. Now, shortly before the album came out, they confirmed a rumor that Pac was cremated and that they smoked his ashes in a blunt.
There's a rumor that after Tupac died, the Outlaw smoked his ashes. Is that true?
Yeah, it's definitely true. You know, I think it was the night of his had a little memorial for him, you know, with his mom, his family and shit. And we had hit the beach and you know, threw a lot of shit he liked in the beach. You know, some weed, some chicken wings, some, you know, he loved orange soda, all that kind of shit.
Chicken wings in the ocean.
Yeah, you know, Pac loved that kind of shit. So, you know, we was just giving him our own, you know, farewell and that night.
Over the next few years, the Outlawz faded away from memory. In 2015, Fatal died in a car accident, and the next year, ex-member Mussolini was found dead in his California home. Around 2016, the Outlawz dropped their 7th album, Living Legends, and over the next few years, they continued to drop more projects. Overall, I think the Outlawz didn't really make it big. Just imagine if 50 Cent passed away just before G-Unit dropped Beg for Mercy. What if Wayne passed away right after signing Drake? This is exactly what happened to the Outlawz. Without Pac to lead them into victory, the Outlawz had a hard time remaining relevant because everyone saw them as an extension of Pac. Also, after Pac passed away, the Outlawz had too many members coming in and out of their group. This made a lot of the fans be like, so how many people are in the Outlawz anyway? And who are they? Who are these people? It's really hard to stay a loyal fan if you don't even know who you're supporting. Although only Noble and Idi are left and continue to drop music sporadically. On Spotify, they have about 450,000 monthly listeners, and their most listened to songs are Real Talk, Baby Don't Cry, Soldier's Prayer AM, Worldwide, and Still I Rise.
Pac had a crazy impact on my life. Every level of my family is affected by him right now, to this day. You know what I mean? He still support the whole family. You know what I mean? He still pay for kids' Pampers and shit. You know what I mean? He's still putting food on people's tables and paying for Thanksgiving and Christmas and shit like that. So he affected my life like a motherfucker.
That's it for me, it's your boy Ali. What happened to the Outlawz in your opinion? Let me know down below. Video requests, I'm always taking those. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.
Perfect.